Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. How you doing? I hope that you're doing great. Mahalo for tuning in. Today we've got a very special guest joining us. He is one of the talented, charismatic sons of reggae and cultural superstar Bob Marley. And we're fortunate to have 4 island dates ahead. July 2nd in Kona, July 3rd in Kapa'a on Kauai, July 4th in Honolulu, and July 5th on Maui and Kihei. Tickets are on sale now. He's known for being humble, soft-spoken, sincere, and loyal. His name is East African and means adventurous traveler. He's recently worked in the famous Tuff Gong Studios his father founded in Kingston, Jamaica, and has also been featured in a number of films and television shows. He even opened for VH on the 2007 reunion with David Lee Roth. It's a great pleasure to welcome on the line my very special guest, Mani Marley. Aloha and mahalo, my brother. Maximum respect.
Yes, my brother. Thank you for having me on the program. And, I must say I'm always looking forward to being in Hawaii. Let me just say that to begin with.
Nice. What's your personal history and experience with the islands?
Oh, man. Well, wow. I've been back and forth for quite some time. I think 97 was when I released my first album. And I had a song on there called Warriors. One time for my Warriors, and Warriors was actually a fan favorite in Hawaii for quite some time. I forgot which high school it was, but there's a high school there that are called the Warriors on one of the islands. I don't know if it's a big island. And so for 97 to like 2002, I was back and forth through Hawaii a lot. I really love the energy. I love the vibe of the people. I love the atmosphere. I just love, I love everything about it. I look forward to being in Hawaii.
Did you go? How many of the islands were you on?
Well, we did Maui, Kauai, the Big Island, and I think
Honolulu.
Shit.
You played in Honolulu.
Honolulu, yeah.
Okay, so you've played on the 4 major islands.
Yeah.
When you think of Hawaii, what are memories that come to mind immediately? Like when you're saying how special it is in your mind, what are you looking at?
I tried to surf comes to mind. A very good friend of mine, Fiji, that lives over in Hawaii, comes to mind. And the atmosphere, the people, the energy, the vegetation.
When are you a surfer, or was it just a one-time thing?
No, I'm not a surfer. It was actually not a one-time thing, but, it was definitely where I started my first surfing lessons. But, it's something that I enjoy. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm still working on it, so hopefully when I get back out, I'll be able to pick up a few more lessons and a few more tips.
That's very cool, man. I can imagine that's a good break for you. When you think of Hawaii, and you've got friends here, you've got connections, you've been appreciated in the community, and you obviously know that reggae has a very, very powerful place in our local community. And I'm curious, aside from Jamaica, have you visited a lot of islands and ever noticed this unusual connection that all islands have sort of to reggae?
Definitely. There's definitely a connection there. And it's a beautiful thing too, to see people who are so far embrace it, and not only embrace it, but embrace it and took it and recreated it and not just put their touches on it and kind of made it their own. And I find that with a lot of Hawaiian artists, and I love that about it. It's really evolving into more than what I would say the traditional reggae is, but you still have these with that hardcore, that one drop, but with just the coloring of the Hawaiian vibe and the Hawaiian people. So I really dig that.
So in a lot of ways, too, Mani, it's sort of a tribute, I guess, to your father, the huge impact that he had, and then what you're describing, the way all these local people out here sort of picked up the mantle and have made their own Hawaiian and
their own imprint on it, right?
Right. Yeah, it is pretty hip. That's cool that you've noticed it, and that's why getting to talk about it with you is a little bit special. What do you think it is? I mean, I know reggae, because I was talking to Matas Yahoo recently, and he, and reggae can be powerful. I was talking to Steel Pulse. They're from Birmingham, UK, yet reggae is huge for them. Matisyahu is from Brooklyn, New York, Hasidic Jewish, and yet reggae is really important to him. Is there anything you can think of that makes reggae connect with people in an unusual way, or do you think it's just...
You know what? I think it is. I think reggae, the traditional reggae, the reggae that has the message of peace, love, and unity amongst all, and not separate, not getting crossed and mixed with religion and everything else. But I think when you find that authentic sound, that music speaks to the soul. You know what I mean? So it goes, it reaches far beyond than what you're just hearing. This is a music that I say it's one of the only music that speaks to the heart, mind, body, and soul. You know what I mean? It's a vibration that speaks to you. Not only are you receiving the message in your head, but you're receiving it deeper than that. It's just a music that moves you, internally.
Yeah, it is. It's an unusual groove. And
it's so simple.
It is. It's simple, but yet...
A bunch of arrangements or a bunch of this or a bunch of solos. It's just straightforward, rootsy, organic music. You know what I mean? There's no not too much additives.
Yet it can have such different flavors.
And yet it still has so many different flavors. Right,
which is strange because it does, like you were saying, it comes from what seems like a bunch of simple riffs and grooves and components, if you will, but then each band really brings something totally different. Have you, the two artists that I named, quickly, what's your take on Steel Pulse and Matisyahu?
I love Steel Pulse. Been a big fan since childhood. Actually, looking forward to doing a collabo with them quite soon, maybe even next week, as soon as, and on my way to Jamaica to try to complete some work with them. So, but I've been a Steel Pulse fan since, that's the kind of music that played in my house when I was a child. So, whether I wanted to be a fan or not, I was indoctrinated.
David Hines.
Steel Pulse and your Burning Spears and your Peter Tosh, Bob wasn't the only person that played in the house.
No, totally. And it's funny, David Hines of Steel Pulse was telling me some just... He's
a extremely talented individual, extremely humble, and it's one of them people that whenever I see him, because most of the times we meet, out on the road, and it's one of them people that every time I see him, whether it's from close or far, there's just always a positive vibration that I could feel, from around him, from being next to him, from just talking to him. It's different, and you really find these type of people out there that you could feel their spirit without even having a conversation with them.
He was telling some great stories about hanging with your dad and little lessons that he got from your dad when I had him on the air. It was great. We did like 10 minutes where it was nothing but him remembering like standing backstage with, Family Man, and he would tell the story and how your pop would come up and say something and he would imitate what your dad said. It was literally, brother, 10 really compelling minutes all about stories of your dad that he had personal, one-on-one encounters with him. It was very special. And what do you think of Matisyahu?
Brilliant. I was introduced to him, to his music, maybe about roughly about a year ago. And I really dig it. It's actually in my CD player right now, to be honest.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. He's an interesting cat for sure. And we got to talk with him a little bit. Talking about your dad a little bit.
I love to see, I love to see the barriers that this reggae music could break down, all in the name of righteousness. Like, I love it. I know there's a lot of artists there's a lot of people in general that hate. You know what I mean? But I've been a student and a fan of music in general, so for me, good music is good music no matter where it's coming from. Oh,
totally, brother. And it's good to see it break down barriers and...
Definitely break down barriers. Like, it's great. I would love to do a song with him, actually.
Yeah, and it's not. I like that. That quite frankly, that especially considering your father and your family legacy has always been very embracing and tolerant of other people and other faiths, and I think it's there's something to be said for that, and the walls that come down, and it would be wonderful if you recorded a thing with him. Let me ask you a few things about the sense of responsibility, KMarley. Do you feel any kind of responsibility or maybe even obligation of some kind to protect or even further your father's legacy?
I do. I feel a responsibility to coming from such a great legacy and what, from first-hand experience, I know means so much to the people out there of what my father speak about, and and who he was as a person. For me, it becomes a responsibility because if taking on this music, there's no way. And now, let me just say this. I know I'm mumbling a little bit, but there's so much things going on in my head because I know, when I first came out, when people just started getting used to KMarley, there was a lot of critique and saying I'm singing gangster rap and, all this other stuff, which to me, I've never sang gangster rap music, you know what I mean? Because I've never said I'm doing this or I'm shooting up anybody or I'm selling anything. My music has always been from my point of view. So coming back to that, for me, it was always to stay true in carrying on my father's legacy. It was always for me also to stay true to myself and relay my message the way I know how, while keeping it positive. You know what I mean? While looking for that brighter future. So I did from early years, once I got into this music thing, that knowing that if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna have a responsibility, because I cannot come now and contradict the path that my father has laid as far as his legacy and what he's about. His message. I knew that it was my responsibility to make sure that I uphold, this legacy and make sure that I do it in a positive way, but do it in my way at the same time. It's a powerful thing, and I imagine there are moments where you're having a lot of fun and you're very, very easygoing and happy and proud of who you are. But I can imagine that it can be somewhat stressful in what you were talking about, because it's some weight on your shoulders. It is some weight. And then, in the midst of it, keeping up the legacy, there's also the weight of trying to become successful while doing it all. That's right. You know what I mean? Totally. There is a way there, definitely. When was the last time that you were in Jamaica? And talk about the changes that you've witnessed, if you can, from some of your earliest memories there up to today. Last time I was in Jamaica was about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And, the changes for me from when I was living there, because I left Jamaica when I was 7 years old, and maybe I returned twice within 17 years after that. But the changes that I see is that we're no longer just this free, caring, loving society. I remember growing up for me, I was really free to move about my neighborhood, the town, as I wanted to. It wasn't, the crime rate was there, but it wasn't like what it is now. To the extent of the violence too. Right. So we find that Jamaica has become, or trying to be, a little America. And I remember when the older folks used to say to me that cable TV is ruining the country, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. Cable TV ruined the country, but growing up now and just seeing what this younger generation is exposed to at such an early age that we weren't exposed to, we find that they start to develop fast and get into other things fast, and a lot of time it's not positive things. So we find that the country is really, it's a different place now. Like for me, the way I used to roam about, I wouldn't bring my children down there and tell them to go roam about freely like I used to do it.
Wow. No, it's
a different place, but yet and still, it's still that place that has that vibration. It's just still this little rock, this little beautiful island that has such a positive, such a high energy, I say it all the time, it's the only place that I go to where I feel one with the earth. Like the minute I put my foot down, I feel like, okay, I'm connected to this place. It's like I'm plugged up, I'm being recharged now. So, at the end of the day, it's still home, and it's.
Where were you last time you were there?
I was in Kingston.
Is that where you go most when you're there?
Say it again?
When you're there, is that where you go most of the time?
No, that's where I am most. I visit the countryside where I'm from. I'm from a little town called Falmouth.
Yeah, I know where you're from.
We'll get back to my town. There's a school there that, I've been trying to help out, work on to refurbish, getting them in computer desk, textbooks, so on and so forth, book bags for the children.
That's a school you went to?
So, yeah, it's a school I went to as a child. So I'm also, trying to give back to the community where I come from. But I spent a lot of time in Kingston at my father's house, at 56 Hope Road. So, majority of the time, if I'm in Jamaica, you will find me there. So if you're there, just swim through.
Is that...
if I'm in the town, I would be right there.
Are you, that's sweet of you, my brother. Are you, who's in possession of that house?
The house is now a museum. The family is in possession of that house.
Nice. Well, on that tip, and I'm very curious about this too. I was fortunate last year. I got to spend a little bit of time with one of your brothers, Ziggy. And he was really, really nice to me. And he came to my studio. We spent like an hour. He played acoustic. I mean, it was a very, very special moment. I'm just curious, how close are you with your fellow Marley siblings, and who are you closest to?
Oh wow, I'm close to all my brothers. Close to all my brothers and sisters. I give credit to my older brother Steve and Marty for really keeping us close. But of course, me, sometimes, just like any family, we have discrepancies and. We have little arguments, but for the most part, we're very close. Hey! Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
And we've been that way since I can remember. Actually, the start of my career, and even now, a lot of my music and a lot of what I do, really, even my last album is really. It's coming from Steve and grooming and training and molding and helping me out to approach the different genres that I do tend to approach. So the family unit is great. Stop it.
So Steven is the one that you're closest to, I'm hearing.
I wouldn't say I'm closest to. Okay, if I had to pick one to say I'm closest to, that would be Rohan.
Okay.
Right, and that would be because me and Rowan lived in Miami. So my early years when I just moved to Miami, it was me and him. I would only see Steven and Ziggy like summer vacation for a couple of months out of the year.
Do you see Ziggy these days?
Say it again?
Do you see Ziggy these days?
When I'm in California.
Okay. That's cool. Tell me about, there's a song I've been enjoying of yours. I'm trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to play it on the radio, mind you. But there's a song of yours that I really like it a lot, my brother. And if you were here, I'd be high-fiving you and giving you a big hug because I've been playing it a whole lot and learning it and stuff. I love the way it starts with the stuff you say right in the beginning. The song is New Heights.
Right, see that.
And I love the way it starts. You say this stuff that I can barely even understand, but it sounds like you're saying, man, I'm so happy. It's like I'm getting off of work in 5 minutes. And what do you say at the beginning of that song?
I'm gonna say, I'm waiting to get off work while the boss man don't hurry up and leave.
That is some good stuff, dude. Take me through your relationship, I guess you could call it, with marijuana?
Wow, my relationship with marijuana, the healing of the nation, the plant that feeds the brain, the plant that brings meditation, the connected plant to all plants, the plant that releases the most oxygen in the atmosphere, the plant that heals cancer, glaucoma, that helps fight AIDS, that makes soap, make rope, make fuel, make T-shirts. I mean, my relationship with marijuana is very deep. You know, and of course, I was raised in a house where the purpose of smoking is not to get high, you know, and it is to get high, but not like how some people say, you know, oh, I'm going to get high. No, when we smoke for meditation. We smoke. Hey, stop it.
What kind of dog is that?
We smoke for. Actually, it's my daughter's two dogs. It's a little Yorkie. We have ducks outside, so they keep to the window to bark at the ducks. Sometimes I let them out, let them chase the ducks.
What state are you in?
I'm in Florida. I'm in Miami.
I love it. I love it, my brother. Well, anyway, so talk about it. So it's because all of you have that connection, you know. All of the Marley brothers. I mean, Ziggy's connection to marijuana very, very, very strong. And I'm just curious, you know, when I listen to that song, I love those lyrics. High like a skyscraper.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. Is it something that it obviously it means something to you on many different levels?
On many different levels. And then, you know, for me too, like, I think some people get it twisted because there's no addiction there, right? As much as I smoke, because I do go through times where I won't smoke for 3-4 months. You know what I mean? And it's not a problem, but it's definitely, I don't know, my relationship with marijuana is very intimate. It's like I'm speaking to you about my wife, my woman.
Right.
I'm not married, but my woman.
Right. I'm with you. Hey, before I wrap it up, I have one other topic I sort of got to hear about. I'm a big, I love my rock music and I love my VH. I saw Van Halen with Sammy, but I was never fortunate to get to see them with Dave. I've seen Dave solo, but you actually got to be an opening act on a very important rock reunion tour of 2007. And I'd like you to tell me how you got on the Van Halen reunion with David Lee Roth tour. And
you know what? I got on, it was through my management at that time. And it's funny because, you know, they was going out on tour and they was looking for an opening act. And I think my management, I had just finished my album. But the crazy thing was my album was more of a hip-hop album. So when they told me about it, you know, my first instinct was like, nah, definitely not, because I can't promote this album in that crowd. But then at the same time, I had music that I've always recorded, you know, this is like my heartfelt heart and soul, which is like where reggae kind of meets rock. It's like that world music kind of, that reggae pop, or not pop, but, you know, it's kind of a rock reggae feel.
Like your dad's classic music.
Like, okay, I'm going to take it and I'm going to play music now that nobody has ever heard before. And see what happens. And I remember before the tour, true story, I remember before the tour, I started checking on some of the blogs. And, you know, a lot of the bloggers was like, well, why is it, you know, they have this reggae artist going out with rock. Nobody want to air that. And why are they giving this, I forgot what it was, but why are they giving this scheduling or whatever it is? Is it to ball up and throw at the opening act? And just a lot of negative things, right? Till it almost started to make me nervous. And I was like, okay. So I remember the first night, we went out the first night, and I got on stage and, you know, people who were sitting in the front, well, the people that was there had their arms folded, people having conversations, and, you know, all the things that goes on. And I just remember going through my set, and, you know, after the first song got into the second song, I noticed that the arms that were folded are no longer folded anymore. And the people who had their back turned to me is now looking at me. And I left that first show to a standing ovation. And, you know, that ride was great for the 5 months that I was out there. I came to learn that David and my father had a very unique relationship. You know, they were somewhat friends, crossed paths a few times. So, you know, him not knowing me or my music at the time, when they told him about it, he was like, yeah, you know, basically blindfolded. He gave me that opportunity. And, you know, I really thank him for that. And you know, I think I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. One of the things I wanted to accomplish was to know that no matter what stage you put me on in front of any audience, that I will have something that you'll be able to enjoy, listen to, or relate to. You know what I mean? Lyrically and musically, production-wise. You know, so it was great. I was in my dressing room. I was in the back of my bus, and, you know, the first time meeting David, actually, he sent his bodyguard, came in to my bus, and he had a toy plane, a model plane. And he said, you know, David said to give you this gift. So I'm looking at it, and it's a model plane. So I'm like, a model plane? I'm like, okay, well, why would David think to send me a model plane as a gift? Like, okay, why not as a T-shirt? When I opened the box, and under the wings it was a fighter jet. So under the wings where the missiles were under the wings, he had actually rolled a few spliffs, placed them under the wings neatly for me, and delivered it to me. Yeah, I had a blast out of that one. And, you know, we chat a few times. He made sure I was okay on the road. He made sure that I was being treated properly, and, you know what I mean, the people that was working for him was make sure that at all times they were courteous to us and make sure that we got what we needed.
So it was David Lee Roth really that made that tour happen, and share some of the stories he told you about hanging with your dad.
Well, we didn't really get into much. We didn't really talk much about hanging with my dad. He really just, you know, told me, basically, I forgot, I think it was in New York when he met my dad, and, you know, the great time that they had together, and, you know, so we didn't really get into deep a conversation of him and my pops.
But it was cool. What you're saying to me, if I can paraphrase, is that through this experience you realized that David Lee Roth has a deep appreciation for your father's music, and when he saw that he had a chance to take you out on the road and do right by your pop's legacy, he jumped on it.
Right.
Correct?
And yeah, he's a great guy. Like, I really, you know, and I hear, you know, I had stories that there's not many opening acts that last that long with him. You know, usually they're there for a month or less, and then they go. And I was actually there for 5 months.
Well, I can tell you, the only time I ever met him,
5 months.
When I met him, he was a very, very nice guy, and I know he loves great music because when I met him long time ago, he was in our radio studio in Boston, and he was telling all these stories about listening to James Brown and all this funk and stuff when he was a kid. And so I think what you told me makes me like him even more, that he was showing your pop some respect, if you can think of it like that.
Yeah, definitely. And every night he would get on stage, he would, you know, tell a fan, give it up for the opening band. He would always give us a shout out too, which of course he doesn't have to do, and there's no reason for him to do it, you know, other than genuinely, you know what I mean, being driven to doing it. Right.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's a great one to wrap it up on. I leave you with this thought, KMani. When you're here, I know you're doing 4 islands in 4 days. It's a real quick thing. But I'm in Honolulu. You'll be here July 4th. I would love to have you come by our radio station if there's at any chance during the middle of the day, like right around 2 o'clock.
Definitely. I think once I get there, you should couldn't be hard for you to have whatever information you need to get to me. So I would definitely come through to the studio.
Cool. So should I just reach out to Eric? Is he my guy?
That's your guy.
Okay. I'll deal with him and
set it up.
And we'll set it up, and I give you a big hug and a high five, and I hope that you've enjoyed talking today. I really have.
Oh, man, I one of the better interviews I've had.
Really?
Some of them are really...
that means a lot. Well...
know how I could go.
Say again?
So yeah, just let Eric know, and I'll be there.
You're the man. I give you a big hug. I'll reach out to Eric. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you again.
Respect.
Aloha, brother.
Aloha, this is Mani Marley, and right now you're tuned into the only show that matters with my friend Dave Lawrence. Keep it locked. Love. Yeah, well, this is Mani Marley speaking to you, and right now you're tuned into the only show that matters with my friend Dave Lawrence. Hey, brother Dave, have a happy 420.
Yeah, well, this is Mani Marley speaking to you right now, and you're tuned into Hawaii Public Radio. Keep it locked right here with Dave Lawrence. Rock on. Yeah, well, this is Mani Marley speaking to you right here in beautiful Hawaii, and you're tuned into the only show that matters with my good friend Dave Lawrence. Yeah, Rasta.